Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's session of our Go Digital Western Cape webinar series. My name is Robert Davids. I'm from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism in the Digital Economy Unit, and I'll be your host for today's session. It's really good to have all of you with us. We are looking forward to spending the next hour or so with you, and we have a very exciting topic for you today. As you saw from the invitation, we coined the topic for today. Ka-ching-Ka-ching is cash still king, and mobile transactions and its importance for your business. So that's really why we are all here today and what we're going to be talking about. And we have our two presenters from F&B and MTN, who I'll introduce a bit later, to take us through this really interesting topic, and one that's actually very relevant for today's times during COVID-19. So as I said, it's really good to have all of you with us today. And then also, thank you. I see everybody has their mics on mute and their videos feeds also turned off. So thank you for your cooperation with that. Later in the session, when we do some Q&A, I may ask you to turn on your video and your audio in case you want to pose a question, but I'll moderate that, and we will take it that session a bit later. But for now, thank you for having your video and mics off. What I'd just like to say also before we get to the actual discussion for today, for those of you who are returning to the webinar today, who kind of our regulars, welcome back. But then also there are some new members in the audience. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you for taking the time to join us also. And welcome to the Go Digital Western Cape webinar community. It's good to have you with us. What we usually do is do a bit of housekeeping before I kick off. So if you could indulge me for just 1 second, I just want to take you through what we call some housekeeping rules, and then I will get to the gist of the session today. Right, there we go. So as you've seen, the topic, the question is cash still king? And with a particular focus on what we refer to as mobile money or e-wallets. That is the particular focus of our session today. And as you can see on the picture there, we've grown up and become accustomed to having cash in our pockets, in our wallets, in our purses, in our handbags. And that is just how the world transacted for many, many decades. But we've moved very rapidly into the era of technology pre-COVID, but now especially during COVID, it's been accelerated at an incredible pace. Across the country, there's a much higher uptake of mobile devices. My stats aren't really perfect, but I think there's up to a 90% uptake of mobile phones and mobile devices across the country, which is much higher than the uptake of tablets and computers. And the mobile phones, as we know, are actually computers in our hands, and they also become very powerful tools for transacting and payments and everything that goes with transacting. And so that is something which is across the board. It's a very key feature in our society. But at the same time, the world of business is changing. I think just this morning I read, it was actually a report by Rand Merchant Bank, I think, that they estimate that by 2025, so in the next 5 years, there'll be e-commerce will increase by about 150% and have a market value of like over 200 billion or something. So it's a growing market. And although e-wallets and mobile money is a very specific factor or component of e-commerce, this industry or this mode of transacting and doing business is definitely going to increase very rapidly, especially now in the post or in the COVID-19 world, but also in the post-COVID world. But then together with that, with the uptake of technology, it's also important to know as a business, what does that mean for you as a business? What does it mean for your clients? Do people trust mobile money systems? Do people trust transacting with their mobile phones instead of cash? Cash is still a very trusted source. It's in something in your hand, but there are certain behavioral aspects that go together with new technologies and new ways of transacting. So from a client point of view, there are certain things which people need to get accustomed to and adopt. From a business point of view, you as SMEs, business owners, entrepreneurs, there are things you need to be cognizant of. But one thing we can't ignore is that this definitely is going to be an area of commerce and business that will be increasing rapidly over the next few months and next few years. So today's session is really to assist us to navigate that space. And as I said, the focus is very much on e-wallets, which is a brand of FNB, but then also Momo or mobile money, which is a brand of MTN. And for that purpose, we actually have the experts in the room with us today. So firstly, to our two presenters, if I could just introduce you. We firstly have, as you can see on your screen, we have Kenneth Matlole he's the product head of transactional banking at FNB SA. And then we have Nkanyiso Ngobo, who is the senior manager in sales and distribution at MTN. So FNB, MTN, definitely leaders in the pack. And to Kenneth and to Nkanyiso, thank you very much for your time and your preparations today and for joining us. So these are the two experts. And what we'll do now to take us through the rest of the webinar is both Kenneth and Nkanyiso will have 15 to 20 minutes to do a quick presentation to us and take us through how mobile money works, what e-wallets actually is, what does it mean for you as a business, what does it mean for customers, what are the opportunities, are there new business opportunities, what's the future trends, and maybe they'll throw in a little story or case study or two also. So to Kenneth and Nkanyiso, thank you very much again for joining us as presenters today. I think on that note, Kenneth, I'll hand over to you and you can take us through the first part of the presentation. Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert, and thank you for everybody for joining during these times as well. It's good that I guess everybody takes the time to actually embrace these digital payments. And I guess my job here is to say, how do we help you get on the journey? How do we help you navigate this world? And again, what I'm about to share is very much an introduction and an overview of what wallets provide. But at the same time, I just want to focus more from an SME perspective, because I guess perception out there is that sometimes it's just for the individual, me as the consumer, receiving an e-wallet or send money solution. But there's lots of use cases and benefits that we see from a SME, commercial, all the way to corporate space. So it has its own life cycle and growth plan, and depending on the use cases, it can apply to either or. I'm just going to share my screen with everybody.
Okay, we can see it. There we go. Thank you, Kenneth. All good.
All right, awesome. So just for today's presentation, I just want to take us through, what is a wallet? Take us through a bit of the history, and I think in terms of the history as well, is actually understanding that the solution or technology has been around for some time. And as the need progresses, as people get more cell phone users or get cell phones, there's a need that transfers to mobile payments. From there, I'll go through an actual example and then show the various use cases. And then given that I'm from FNB, I'll talk to some of the solutions that we offer at FNB. But depending on which institution you bank with or your network provider is, there's similar solutions which you can acquire with your financial services provider. So again, starting with where we are, what is a digital e-wallet or digital payments? So digital wallet, also known as e-wallet or electronic wallet, refers to an electronic device, and in most cases a cell phone, allowing a person to make electronic transaction to another person. And again, there's various forms of how we access those wallets. So generally, the most common way of accessing your wallet will be through a mobile device. And in some instances, there's a card attached to it where you can purchase goods. And when we talk to the card stuff, I mean, if you look at, and I give an example, if you look at your, I guess, rewards cards in stores, those are still considered as a wallet. And the way that you access it, instead of just being through your mobile device, will be through a store card. So there's various options of accessing your wallet. But then behind the wallet, there's actually a store of funds. And we refer to a store of funds, you know, between whether you're purchasing goods or receiving a service, somewhere there's a transaction happening. And the way that transaction happens is through your device. But behind there's a reconciliation, or I could say a store of value that actually stores how much money is actually being moved about. And again, the benefit of this, it allows you to not have a traditional bank account. So while behind in the background, there may be an account sitting behind there, but in order for that person to use it, there's no actual account that they need to open. And again, what it does, it enables them to not have to go through the process of now going to the bank, doing what we refer to as know your customer, you know, you're handing in your proof of ID, proof of ID, proof of residence, and all that items. It's more around, do I have access to a cell phone, do I have network, and being able to transact. What we say as well around digital wallets, it's very much secure in terms of it's all linked up to the device and cell phone number. So you're able to access those funds compared to a standard wallet where, I mean, if you have cash on hand, the wallet disappears, it's all gone. But through this process, even from your side as an SME, as a business owner, you're able to actually transact without the risk of having cash. And we'll get to some of those benefits as we go through the presentation. Now, where did it all start? So this is just a quick highlight reel of wallets. And as Robert spoke to it, it's digital technology is forever increasing. But if you look at the history, it dates back, and I think in record, the earliest form of wallets was around 1997, somewhere in Helsinki, where cell phones were actually used. There was a pilot where cell phones were actually used in order to make payments for your cool drink at a vending machine. Fast forward a year later, PayPal started introducing what's called Palm Pay. I don't know if most of you remember those tablets. I mean, growing up, I always wanted that tablet to write on, and I was so fascinated with it. But actually, in 1998, PayPal introduced Palm Pay, and effectively what it was you could load your credit card onto their solution, and by loading the credit card, you could access it through the tablet and actually make a payment through the tablet. And again, 1998, people not very familiar. The internet was still relatively new. We're still in the, I guess, checks were still big back then. And I guess in terms of PayPal, they came a bit too early. So technology's been around, but again, access to cell phones wasn't widely spread. And the things that people had were doing the jobs that they needed in terms of whether I need to pay with my check or debit card at that time, or do electronic fund transfer. So digital technology wasn't yet adopted. Then I guess a couple of years later, 1999, we see that through your toy manufacturers, a Swedish brand was able to actually allow you to make movie ticket purchases through cell phones, right? So again, technology is being around, but early adoption. Fast forward a couple of years later to 2007, and I skipped a whole lot of stuff that happened. I mean, between there, you had your first cell phones being created around your smartphones, your iPhones, your Apple operating systems, etc., and Android. But 2007, you start seeing this thing starting to speed up and trickling, and you see it more in your eastern regions in Africa of mobile payments through cell phones, referred to as M-Money. And you guys might be familiar with some solutions like M-Pesa, where it was very popular and still popular in the eastern region. Following that, I guess between 2009 and 2010, New Wallet is first introduced through FNB into South Africa, right? And I guess it was during the hype of the FIFA World Cup. See letters here. that we started seeing the introduction of e-wallets and send money solutions into South Africa. The rest we can say is history, because right now, I think if we look at, I think the last stats I looked at was around in Feb, we're sitting at around 20 to 23 active cell phones in the market, which means there's 23 million people that can actually receive or send a payment. So how does it work? For simplicity purposes, you as the client will obtain, whether it's your employee or someone you want to give funds to, and this is in banking context, obviously, in terms of funds transfer. We'll talk through other use cases. You'll obtain their details, and in most instances, the details is a cell phone number. As simple as that. Capture the cell phone number and submit to channel. When we refer to submit to channel, I just want to point out, there's a point. When we refer to submit to channel, that would be, which form do you want to actually provide that person access to. When I opened up, I spoke to, you can do it through either cell phone, you can do it through most banks now, banking app, you can do it through a card access mechanism, and even some instances, different solutions allow you to do it even at kiosks to just decide the destination. From there, depending on whether it's what we refer to as an open solution. Open solution says, I can spend that money anywhere, or I can withdraw it anywhere, so there's no restrictions, versus a closed solution says, I can spend it only in that ecosystem. So a good example is when you go into events. There's different event solutions like Howler, where you load money onto the card and you can only use it at the event and you can't use it anywhere else. That's referred to as a closed solution. But depending on that, assuming that it's an open solution that you allow the person to withdraw it at any ATM or use it at any, I guess, corresponding store that allows you to make a payment, or generate an e-wallet. So send the person an SMS with a PIN. That person will then access those funds through their cell phone. So it will either go through to an ATM or ask them to do your select option to withdraw cash. They'll then punch in the cell phone number as well as the PIN, and then the money is available to them, or do the payment through a card. Given that the person might have a card, there might be a part-time employee with the card. They'll then have the functionality to actually swipe the card like any debit card. They'll have a PIN to that debit card, and the funds will be there available to that specific user. Okay. So what does it mean in terms of benefits for you as the business owner? One, it's safe. In terms of usage, if you need to pay somebody, you don't have to keep cash on site. And at the same time, it reduces the idea of lost money or stolen money. And where users are still using checks, it reduces the risk of fraudulent checks being taken place. One, it also saves money in terms of there's no monthly fees associated. So what tends to happen is that, it's on a need basis, and most solutions are offered without actually having to pay extra for the actual solution, but rather pay for the transaction, which is at a reduced cost than actually going to a branch or withdrawing physical cash, bulk cash, and handing it out, whether it's to employees or beneficiary, or even in your personal capacity, if you have to pay somebody for services, it reduces that risk. Thirdly, it saves you time. You can do all these payments electronically, as we spoke. A good example that we had was that during the COVID period, we had a lot of businesses who wanted to pay the temporary staff or even make donations. And because of lockdown level 5, you're restricted to move. So this allows you to actually do it in the convenience in your home through our channels, which is through online, your app, and cell phone banking, where you're able to actually make the payment to the individual. And effectively, what it also allows you to do is make bulk payments. So you don't necessarily have to do individually one account at a time or one cell phone number at a time. There's a functionality as well from a business perspective to do multiple bulk payments ranging from 6,000 to anywhere to 100,000 at a time. So it's really convenient instead of doing individual bulk cash deposits or withdrawals for individuals. And then finally, I guess what it allows you for, it's easy administration and reconciliation. So in there, you're able to get a statement to understand where the funds went, what you're spending on monthly, versus if you had to have cash on hand and trying to keep that a manual register where funds went becomes a bit problematic. Then also you can also manage it from a spend perspective on a monthly basis to see what are the spending patterns or payments making from that aspect. From the recipient, what it does as of for the recipient, it enables them, similar to the business owner or the business, again, similar, you avoid the risk of actually carrying cash on hand. And always, I guess, in terms of that, you don't always have to withdraw the cash immediately. So in the solutions where a person doesn't have a card attached to the cell phone number, they effectively would be able to keep the funds in there and only use it on a case-by-case basis or where the need arises. There's no need to actually withdraw the funds all immediately and have the money with you. The second part is, if there's a card attached to it, similar to any other debit card that's linked to an account, there's a card and PIN, a very secure mechanism. So even lost, you're able to have security knowing that your chip-enabled card that's accessed through PIN is secure, and you can also order a new one or replacement one should it get lost. And then thirdly, for the recipient, there's no monthly banking fees. I know one of the things we always get is around, if you're paying somebody that, I guess, a seasonal worker or part-time worker, opening up a bank account and having that monthly fee go off without them actually using the account, I guess eats into their available balances. But this effectively allows them to have access to funds without actually needing to pay for monthly bank account fees. And secondly, I guess in terms of benefit, you as a business have the functionality to actually sponsor a withdrawal. So as part of the solution, you can say, look, I want to be able to sponsor the withdrawal. So when that person goes to the ATM to receive their money or make a transaction, the fees will not necessarily come off their account. It will be part of the transactional fees that you would sponsor. In some instances, there's also options not to sponsor a transaction. And then the last one that we're saying is value adding. So not only can you do a withdrawal from the wallet, but you also have the functionality to actually do purchases, whether it's card enabled. In some instances, you find various solutions where stores are able to accept payments through cell phones. So with the cell phone number, you're able to enter a code that allows you to actually make the payments at the merchants. So it's also value adding. So it almost gives you the same functionality, if not similar or same as a bank account without that extra hassle for the individual. But please note that as well, when we talk to this wallet, there's general restrictions around the value. In some instances, I think they value up to about 25,000 Rand per monthly value, or in some instances, I think up to about 5,000 per transactional value. And again, it's all because of regulatory requirements, ensuring that because you don't have the documentation of the individual that you're sending it to, there's thresholds that you're allowed to transact below. In terms of the use cases, I spoke to the one around sending money. I think the first one that I spoke to is that if you have that instant payment to make, you don't know the person's account number and you have their cell phone number, or they don't have a bank account, you're able to actually make payments through their cell phone. And also wages. We find as well use case for many of our clients is wages. So paying again to someone that might not have a bank account, or they might not have their documentation to open up a bank account, or they're seasonal workers. This enables them to actually get the funds through the wallet solution. The third option is, or the third use case is very much petty cash. So you as a business might require petty cash on site. And generally, I mean, if you need to go to the branch to get your daily cash reserves, whether you're a retailer, etc., you can attach a card to the wallet and give it to one of your staff and actually go to the branch and do a withdrawal, or even at an ATM to do a withdrawal of that actual cash requirement without needing to actually, issue them a check and go down that process of then getting charged the cash withdrawal fees and fees associated to physical cash handling. Another use case is commission payments. So again, depending on what business you're in, we've seen this as one of the solutions where an employer would pay their staff commission within a card attached to it for whatever sales they make in the month. We've seen like mobile sales providers using the solution to actually, once sales are done, to actually pay commission off this card. Winnings is another one. We've seen an entertainment space where even sports betting, where people do winning payments onto cards or do it to cell phone numbers. As well as, and I guess there's a whole range of here, maybe we can ask questions given times, but I guess in terms of the ones that we're seeing it as well, loyalty. So loyalty is one where if you a store and want to have a loyalty or rewards program similar to our eBucks, you could get a wallet solution, and based on the spending of your customers, you can load them up with a reward, whether it's like a couple of percent or R1 or back on a transaction or a purchase. This could be a mechanism you could use as part of the wallet payment. Instead of actually making a physical withdrawal to the customer, you can give them a rewards card to simplify it for them to spend within your store. And again, this is an example of what I spoke to earlier around this being an option for either closed loop, where you try and make the individual spend within your store or spend within your business, and then also to open where you allow them to spend anywhere. There's other options along the way, I think, where we speak to the various solution, allowance, medical. So there's a vast range of stuff, and this is just a minute amount. In terms of the F&B solutions, I guess we've got three main solutions. And again, you can, as I spoke to at the beginning, you can speak to your financial service provider to see what options they have. But we have the eWallet Pro solution, which allows you to do bulk payments. So this one is where we integrate to you if you have your own, I guess, internal systems which you want to make payments through. This allows us to integrate with you and integrate to say link up with you, and where you can actually send files through to us as an organization, and we're able to do about 6,000 transactions at any time. And also we can attach various cards to it. You can restrict it to say, you have what we refer merchant restricted, so you can restrict where the person can spend the card. So even here, there's a use case to say you can use it for your drivers. If you want to give them a fuel allowance, you can give them merchant restricted, so you spend at your garages. We have also the send money, which is your standard. You go into your app and you send money to one individual. And then we have the third one, which is our bulk send solution through online banking, where you can do up to 6,000 transactions at once. So you can load a file of 6,000 and then send payments. And then lastly, some of the success story, and I think I spoke to a bit of it, was around the various sectors. So this cases across multiple sectors. We've seen it in an agri space where our clients had, I guess, seasonal workers. We use the bulk solution to do those monthly payments to those seasonal workers. We've seen it in terms of your recycling business, again, where you've seen the guys with trolleys walking the streets, etc., where they hand that, I guess, when they get that recycling material and get money for it, instead of giving them cash on site, and in order to protect the recycler, they make a payment to a cell phone number. And then thirdly, we've seen it, what I spoke to, retailers using this for reward benefits. So you actually pay people based on, you can issue them a card, and then you pay to that card. for spending in terms of that space. Cool. Thank you. That's like a quick summary of our wallet solutions and how wallets work from a banking perspective.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. That was great and spot on time. So thank you very, very much for that. As I said, we're going to take some Q&A at the end of the second presentation. So Kenneth, thanks very much. And from you, we're going to move over to Mkanyiso. So, okay, and presentation mode, all good to go. Okay, right. Thank you. So we'll hand over to you now for the next part. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for joining this session, taking the time out to join this session. So what I'm going to be doing this afternoon is just taking you through digital wallets, or what we call in our organization mobile wallets. MTN's got our product is called mobile money. We've got various services around mobile money, and I'm just going to be taking you through the actual product itself. There'll be some broad-based things that I'll be sharing with you regarding mobile wallets, but for the most part, I'll just be sharing with you exclusively what our product is, what it's about, how it operates, and the benefits that it has. Mobile money is in 15 countries, MTN mobile money, in 15 countries across Africa. The South African version of it launched late last year. So mobile money has been in operation for quite a number of years in the rest of Africa and the Middle East. And South Africa was the latest addition to be on mobile money. So what is Momo, right? It's a service and technology that allows customers to receive, store, and spend money. I think that's important, in that, you know, the customer can receive, can store, can spend money. And more importantly, pay for goods and services. All of this using a mobile device. Right? So everything we do with payment and everything we do with mobile money, we ensure that it's all used using a mobile device. We often refer to it as a mobile wallet or digital wallet. You can use that interchangeably. And we basically deliver banking services through the customer's mobile phone. So it's very important to add that we as MTN are not a bank. We're not bankers, but we do provide banking services. Our service is done and powered by Ubank. At the features that are available on Momo, you can deposit cash into your account, as I've previously mentioned. You can transfer money between Momo accounts. You can send money to non-Momo users. So you don't necessarily have to be a Momo user to receive cash, but to send cash, you've got to be a Momo user. You can withdraw cash from Momo accounts. You can purchase airtime, data bundles, and a host of other services through your Momo account. You can make payments, bulk payments, merchant payments, pay for various goods and services, prepaid electricity, DSTV, municipality. There's just a large range of services that one can get through Momo. Right, so it's simple and it's secure in the sense that your money is safe. One's got to get into your phone, get into your banking app in order to be able to access any kinds of funds. And to go through all those systems, you've got to keep adding password after password. So it's quite a secure system. It's convenient. And importantly, it's real time. So transactions happen and take place then and there. There are no monthly fees, free balance checks, and there are loyalty programs as well attached to the product. Then you've got agents, people who deal with Momo, right? People who interact with Momo, who interact with customers, and who interact with MTN ourselves as the owner of the product. They can get new revenue streams. And I think that's the big thing for MTN as well, right? I mean, as a mobile company, why get into a banking service, right? It's no argument that digital and mobile banking services are on the up. And we are a mobile tech company, and it's in our interest as well to be involved in this digital space and provide these kinds of services for our customers. And it increases the footprint and then, the number of people that go into the business, because one no longer goes in for telecom services. One can also be introduced to the banking services. Reduces cash handling. I think that's a big thing with mobile money. It's the non-cash handling has also been our big success in Africa, right? Some of the countries that we are involved in terms of mobile money, either there's a lot of foreign currency that people use, or lack of currency, So it really works in the rest of Africa because of that. One can transact in real time using money that is just on your phone. Everybody has a cell phone, so it gives everybody easy access to money. At the moment, mobile money is available to South African companies. So you've got to be a South African citizen. You've got to have valid South African ID number. But we are working on the service to ensure that in terms of legislation, we are in line in terms of making sure that we take people who are non-South African citizens and who weren't born in South Africa, and also making sure that we can send money between countries with mobile money. At the moment, South African mobile money is only available in South Africa for South African citizens. Accessing Momo, you can access your Momo account through your app, or you can even access it through your USSD code. So big footprints of South Africans actually still use feature phones, and to be able to access that market, the USSD strings and accessing Momo through USSDs becomes necessary. And they can use the displayed USSD string in order to register themselves and be able to access. But we've got a very capable and high-tech app as well. So you can access Momo through the app and through the USSD as well. And of course, you can access it through any network. So you don't necessarily have to be an MTN subscriber to be able to access Momo. You could be with one of our competitor networks, and all you need to do is download the app, right? Or if you put the USSD string, you can input your USSD string from some of our competitor networks. Two types of accounts. You've got a yellow account and you've got a yellow plus account. And as one may or may not know, mainly largely due to registration, there's different limits and transaction limits for all for the different accounts. So there are limits to transactions. It's not limitless, but we're working on various other products. We do have products for business, which obviously have a lot more limits than your yellow and your yellow plus customers. Momo roles. This is basically how we put the product out in the market. We've got master agents, customers, and merchants. So this is basically the ecosystem and who does what within that ecosystem. So you've got your master agent, and your master agent is the one who manages floats, who has the big floats. and is able to work together with the agent who's actually in the field, interacting with customers and people who are in the marketplace, assisting with registrations, assisting with queries, assisting with cash ins and cash outs. And your customer is the person who basically uses the product and uses all its various services. And of course, your merchant who receives payment in the form of mobile money. This is our store. Our MTN stores are an important touch point for us at this stage in ensuring that they can provide the service in order to be able to liquidate cash and receive cash, electronic cash for customers. And of course, you've got your master agent, your agent or your store consultants, the customer, and the store itself. You can also buy and purchase various goods and services in the store. Registration process. Again, you can use your app and you can also use your USSD string to register. Registration process for you. This is for USSD string, and this is just a basic string that one can go through to register. All right, and you can register through your app. Store agents. Each store has its agents. Each MTN store. So you can register at an MTN store and you can do your cash in. You can walk into an MTN store with no Momo at all, and by the time you walk out, you can be registered and cashed in. And of course, the store as the merchant provides the service of purchasing goods. We've got a host of other merchants and a host of other services. So when you are registered in the actual app itself, it gives you a list of different goods, services, and merchants that are involved. This is just a basic cash flow as far as a merchant in terms of how you can purchase at a merchant, or if you are a merchant yourself, how the customer process works. So customer has to have and deposit money into the Momo account. And then the merchant has to be and have the capability of receiving mobile money as a form of payment. The POS system can record the purchase, and Momo also records the transaction as well on its system. And then it can be all recorded, and it is all completed and done on our ECW system. So each merchant is equipped with the ECW system and point of purchase in order to enable them to run these transactions. In terms of the customer, all the customer will have to do is, again, load money, and they can walk into a merchant and they can purchase. You walk in with electronic or Momo on your phone, you walk into the store, customer informs you of or the merchant rather informs you of the product and its cost, and then you can transfer the money from your account to the customer's account, and then it can be ringed up and you can receive your goods. All in real time, all happens immediately. Business to business. Just thought I'd take you through one or two in terms of our business to business cases. Bulk payments is big for our business environment. So one can make deposits. So you as the business user or the business owner can get a bulk payment into your main Momo account and then link it to do bulk payments. In terms of salaries, if you have social transfers, or if you have promos, or if you hand out incentives or bonuses, or if you are just doing any form of bulk payments, we provide those kinds of services as well. The registrations, there's a registration process with that on how to set that up, and you can fill in a form, get all your required details, right? And then it's necessary to get all of that captured. If you've got a head office, you've got to get head office location, attach your business registration forms, and it can all be set up within 72 hours, where you'll get your specific training on how to set your business up. Then lastly, this is the customer profile. So as mentioned, mobile money has been in existence for a number of years in the rest of Africa, present in 15 countries. And these are some of our business partners that use Momo for bulk payments and all sorts of other payments. South Africa, as mentioned, just launched recently. So a lot of it in terms of the bulk business has been set up, and we're busy setting up and acquiring more. But these are just some of the notable partners that we've got for mobile money in the rest of Africa. And that's it. That's basically it for Momo, mobile money. Just a basic overview of what the product is and how it operates.
Okay, thank you very much, Nkaniso. That's really excellent. Could I ask you perhaps to stop sharing your screen, and then for you, myself and Kenneth, just to keep our videos on so we can move into the Q&A session. Okay, great stuff. So yes, so thank you very much to both Kenneth and Nkaniso for those two presentations. I think that really set a great tone for what we're going to discuss now. So I have a couple of questions, and I must admit, Kenneth, when you started, you mentioned the word checkbook, and that I don't know when last I thought about a checkbook, but it brought back flashbacks of my grandfather with his big checkbook in his pocket, and me when I still have my own little checkbook, which I suppose I'm giving away my age now, but and also balancing a checkbook and all those things. So that was a very fond memory that you triggered there, and I'm sure many people in the audience also have their own memories of the days of checkbooks. So thank you for that. It was a pleasant memory. But yeah, I have a couple of questions, and I also just want to encourage the audience. If you have questions, you can pop them in the window or just put up your hand. You'll see there's a little hand that you can pop up. If you want to raise your hand on the platform, you can also pose your question directly to Kenneth or Nkaniso. But so these are questions which either of you could answer or respond to. The first one is, if I understood it correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that for both for e-wallet or mobile money systems, in this case, obviously FNB's e-wallet and MTN's Momo, that the user doesn't need a bank account. I got that understanding from both of you, and I said you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as most people in South Africa are banked, the first question would be to either of you, what would you say is the key differentiators or the key reasons why someone would move from normal transacting using a bank account to an e-wallet or Momo for that matter? That's the first thing. What is that key thing? Because if you think of changing behavior and changing technologies that people use for transacting, what would be the main differentiating factors between a digital money and or Momo or e-wallets in this case, and an all bank account? And then secondly, what would also be quite helpful is to understand who are the people that actually use payment systems like this. I mean, in terms of users, keeping in mind that our audience are mainly SMMEs and businesses. What is the profile? Who are the people who actually use this mostly? Where's the uptake? Because that could give us some insight into the trends and how this may be something that our SME community can tap into. And then I have a couple of questions more than that or further to that, but I thought maybe I'll pose those two first, and either of you can perhaps respond with your thoughts on that. Thanks.
I'll take the first question. So in terms of your question around, who are the users, why not a traditional bank account? In most instances, I guess, as we spoke, people do have bank accounts and do the EFT payments to that specific recipient. But in some instances, there are items where, as we opened, where you might have someone working for you that is effectively, I guess, a seasonal worker or part-time worker that may not have a bank account available at that specific point. And in that way, it's more around the ease and simplicity of saying, here's a cell phone number, paid to my cell phone. And the one thing I think we find that people remember cell phone numbers better than they remember their account numbers, right? So it makes it much easier to get the payment. And sometimes it's in what I opened up to in the first one, that open loop, where you're able to access any, withdrawal at any specific ATM. In such instance, it's instantaneous, right? So doing an EFT payment, electronic funds transfer payment, sometimes if it's going between different banks, if I'm banking with another institution, sometimes it's subject to that waiting period. It could be 24 to 48 hours. And this provides you an instant mechanism to get those funds. Similar to cash, right? Because I think one of the key things that makes cash exist in this current environment is that it's instantaneous. When we do a transaction, I pay you for the services, it's immediate without actually sharing. And then I guess finally, sometimes customers or people are not really keen to share their account number in detail. So a cell phone number is like, hey, I have a cell phone number, here's funds. And then finally, it's connectivity. One of the things around connectivity, there's always cell phone reception available in most areas. So that also enables it much easier to transfer, instead of taking that other cost of you have to do cash or an EFT. How does that person know that the funds are already in the account, and then going to access them further becomes a challenge.
Okay. Thanks, Kenneth. And Yuso, do you have any responses to those questions?
Yeah, basically, if you look at the reason why, it's everybody owns a cell phone, and most people in most corners of the world own a cell phone, right? So we're told that there are more cell phones than there actually are people. So, and everybody does everything on their cell phones nowadays. People read whole books on their cell phones. People do host of activities that were previously not done instantaneously on your phone. So banking also becomes convenient when it's done on a mobile device. You can send and receive money and perform transactions on your app anyway, without needing to go to a physical, traditional brick and mortar type of setting to be able to do your banking. So it makes banking very convenient, and it takes the device, the cell phone, that people use to perform all sorts of activities around their lives, and it gives people easy access to banking through that. You're also able to reach very remote places. As long as you've got network coverage, you can reach that place via banking, which speaks to the next question, which was around who uses it, right? Who uses it just depends on who the target market is and what the offering is. As we see in some of the underdeveloped countries, we see a lot of Momo usage. There's an opportunity there because of underbanking or lack of efficient banking. You find that the convenience of cell phone makes it possible for those people to get involved in banking.
Okay. No, thank you very much. There's a couple of more questions, and we are running close to the end of our time. So while I'm just going to get the questions which I've received on the side, but while I'm doing that, a quick question. While we understand the value and the convenience and efficiency of cell phones, we also live in South Africa, and earlier you did mention a lot around the issues of safety, and that the platform itself is secure. It may be a strange question to ask, but what happens if you lose your cell phone, or if someone steals your cell phone? What happens from the user perspective then? And then if you could just respond to that, I have one or two more questions which we'll pose, and then we'll wrap up. Okay.
Okay, so your app is on your phone. So your phone is merely a mechanism to access your banking. So you can access your app your banking app through any phone, provided that you've got your SIM card and your app speaking on that same device. So immediately you'll need, if you lose your phone, you'll need to cancel your SIM, do a SIM swap. You'll go through a registration verification process.
Okay.
And that includes face recognition, voice recognition, and a host of other security checks before you can get it up and running. So the app, the account is linked to your SIM, to your cell. So if that gets lost, you just need to be able to cancel your old existing SIM, get a SIM swap, reconnect to the new SIM, and then you can be up and running.
Okay, thanks. Kenneth, your side?
Yeah, and I guess in terms of, just to add in terms of the SIM card, but what our wallet also allows you, I guess the funds are in the wallet, they're not on the actual cell phone, right? So even then you're able to call them and ask for the funds to be blocked. So you don't have access to it. So and then secondly, on the straight send money functionality, there's functionality to do a reversal. So it auto reverses, I think, after 14 days on the normal send money. But for the bulk, you can actually request a reversal to be done back to you if you're the business. And in the example where it's not just a cell phone, it's a card, and the funds are sitting on that card and the card gets lost, you can actually have those funds reversed back into your account.
Okay, great stuff. Gentlemen, we've come to the end of our time, and I know there's still a couple of questions. So, but unfortunately, we won't have the time to run through them. Do you have any last comments you'd like to share with our audience before I wrap up and do the thanks? Maybe a last thought or a last motivation for people to adopt digital money. Maybe a last word from either of you or both of you, and then I'll wrap up for the day. Thank you.
I guess from our side, yeah, it's important, I think, as a business, is to understand the payments, who you make payments to, and see where is it that gets a big price in terms of actual cash, and saying, is this something that I can actually use in order to replace cash? Are you giving your drivers cash in order to purchase fuels? Are you trying to create customer stickiness in your store, and you want to give a rewards card? There's a solution there. And at the same time, I think approach your bank and then approach us and say, this is what I'm trying to solve for, and we'll help. I think as our slogan says, how can we help you? We'll happily understand this and say, where does this use case fit? It's not necessarily just around making payments to someone that's not associated to you or just a recipient. It's also around how do you manage money in your own business and have better management of it or reconciliation to know where the funds are being spent.
Okay, great. And Kaniso, last word from you, and then I'll take us up.
Yeah, no, I just think that digital banking has been around for quite a while, but it's still relatively new, and there is I wouldn't say a reluctance, but there is a view from the normal consumer to look at it and ask themselves the question, why? But until you cross the line and you get an account and you test it and you try it, you'll really see the benefits of getting into a mobile banking or a digital wallet environment. But as digitization moves forward and as cell phone networks become more and cell phones become more and more important in everyday life, it's inevitable that mobile cell phone banking is going to be the order of the day in the future. So try it, go into any digital wallet and just give it a bash, put a few bucks in it, play around with it, and then you really get the feel of what it's all about.
Okay, great stuff. I think that's a great note to end the session. Just try it. Let's see what happens. Major behavior shifts start and habits start with just trying something. See if it works. See if it doesn't work. There may be a few good surprises in there, and if we don't know, I suppose we could just find out if we use it. So that's a great note to end the session on. So to Kenneth from F&B and Kan Yusuf from MTN, thank you very, very much for your presentations today and for sharing your time and your knowledge with us and the audience. We really appreciate it, and I think you gave us some really valuable content, both on your platform itself, but also the world of mobile money and e-wallets in itself. So thank you very much to both of you for your time and your preparations and for sharing your knowledge with us today. Then to our audience, thank you very much for joining us again for this hour. I know we're 5 minutes over time, but yeah, there was a lot of content, and I think it's well worth the extra 5 minutes. So thank you very much for your time and for joining us. We hope you got some value out of this, and we hope that you'll join us in some of our future sessions. So keep your eye on your email boxes. Then what I'm going to do at the end of the session is I'll have a 2-minute display which will scroll, and there you can see some more background on the Go Digital Western Cape campaign. You'll also see how to access recordings of our previous webinars. Today happens to be number 21, so it's our 21st. It was a momentous one. But so just stay on the line, and you can see some information about the campaign, how to access previous webinars, etc. And then to our Go Digital Western Cape team at the office, thank you for everybody in the team who does the work behind the scenes. But from our side, once again, to our presenters, Kenneth and Kan Yusuf, thanks very much to our audience. And please take care, stay safe, and be well. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Awesome.